Well, this is my San Carlos Apache basket. According to the late Herb Stevens, by the way, it's got a, see that sticker, San Carlos Apache? I'll tell you about that later. According to Herb Stevens, the late director of the San Carlos Apache Cultural Center in Arizona, it's called a TUS, T-U-S. What distinguishes a TUS from a regular basket is that not only is it very tightly woven, but it was packed inside and out with pinon pine pitch. Okay, it's got handles. Here, I'll give you a little sense of size of the basket. It's pretty big. Anyway, this is the display side of the basket. It's the good news. The bad news is this. I keep it on this so I don't have to touch it. The other side is pretty well beat, unfortunately, which is how I came into it, by the way. If you look inside, I don't know if you can see, but there's like a whole pile of pinon pine pitch, which maybe melted in heat or something and just wadded up on the bottom. But the bottom is present, but mostly rotted out. So I came into this, I don't know, maybe not 40 years ago, but close, when I was working for the Museum of the American Indian Hay Foundation, when it was still on 155th Street in Broadway in New York. And we were cataloging stuff to move it to the Smithsonian, against the wishes of the late George Hyde, by the way, who gave it all to the city of New York with the condition that it would always be on display in New York. And they got around that. They found a loophole. They made up a loophole to defy his will. But in any event, be that as it may, this was actually collected by George Hyde. It dates to about 1880, 1890. And when we were cataloging stuff in the museum, we came across this, and it was in really bad shape, you know, as you can see. And it was decided that although it had a display side, which you're looking at with the two handles and everything else, it wouldn't make the trip to DC, to the Smithsonian, without getting broken up. So I was asked if I wanted it. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with it? Well, way back then I decided, you know what I'll do with it? I will bring it home, I will take care of it, and somehow I will get it back to the San Carlos Apache one day. Well, it took me a long time. I still don't know how I'm going to get it there in good shape. I got this scheme worked out, but I'm not sure it's going to work. Or a guy I know who's a pilot will actually, I'll put it in a box for packing peanuts and the whole bit, and the pilot will bring it into the cockpit and put it behind his seat, and a guy I know in Arizona will meet the plane at the airport and drive it to the San Carlos Apache Cultural Center. But in any event, the goal was not to keep it. The goal was to give it to the people, not to a person, by the way. This is not a gift to one individual who happens to be Apache. This is something I feel belongs to the San Carlos Apache, and I want them to have it. So, one way or another, I'm going to get this thing to them. Now, I'm getting old. I'm 65, and I haven't got another 40 years to hang on to this basket. And I don't want to leave it to people who will not have the same spirit of getting it back to where it belongs that I do. So, you can see the condition of it. I'd love to give it to the Cultural Center. I wish Herb were still there so I could, we worked out a deal, by the way, Herb and I. And the deal was this. He said, what do you want for the basket? Well, I said, I'll tell you exactly what I want. I think it's a fair deal. I get you this basket somehow at my expense. And in return, if I ever get to the San Carlos Apache Cultural Center, you need to sit down with me and have a cup of coffee. And if I decide I want 2 cups of coffee, then you have to have 2 cups of coffee with me. And Herb thought about that, and he said, you want that white man coffee or cowboy coffee? And I said, when in Rome. He said, cowboy coffee then. So that's the deal. Who's ever in charge of the Cultural Center when this basket arrives, Man, I hope I can get it there in the shape it's in. That person needs to take, he has to take me on a tour of the cultural center and sit down and have 2 cups of coffee and chit-chat with me for a while. I'm a former anthropologist, PhD, which is what I happen to be doing, working for the Museum of the American Indian, by the way. So that's really what I want here. I think it's a pretty good deal. You take me on a tour of your little cultural center and sit down and have 2 cups of coffee with me, and I somehow get this basket back to where it belongs. Okay? What else? Anything else you need to know about this basket? You know, Herb was talking about how it needs to be. He wanted it. He definitely wanted it. He definitely knew where it should be displayed. But it would need to be blessed when it got there, because who knows what evil spirits might lie within the basket. Apache people, this thing's been in my house for 40 years and I'm still alive. If there were evil spirits in there, they'd have killed me a long time ago. But you do, you know, look, you've got your ways, I got mine. You do what you feel is right, and what I feel is right is to get this basket back to you. Deal? Now, John, who works at the radio station there, has found the name of the new guy who's in charge. I have it written down inside. The new guy who's in charge of the cultural center, so hopefully he and I will chit-chat. He said put it in a box with packing peanuts. Here's another part of the deal. If you talk me into that, and if it doesn't get there in the condition it's in now, do not tell me it was destroyed, okay? I want to believe it got there healthy, because I've been waiting 40 years for this, okay? So, that's the only other part of the deal. 40 years, huh? 40 years I've been sitting on this basket trying to think of a way to get it back. I've just not been back to Arizona since. I can't get on a plane with it. I tried that. I called all the airlines. They said, no, you have to check it as luggage. I said, not carry-on. Carry-on won't fit. Okay, it's too big. I'd have to put it in a box. Carry-on won't fit. And checking it as baggage, checked baggage, you know what they'll do to it. I've heard people's dogs were killed, you know, going on as checked baggage. So this is a very delicate thing. So, we shall speak, and I shall do my part to get this back to you. Oh, anyway, so John said he would carry it out to the cultural center. He'd meet the plane, but the pilot I know rarely goes to Phoenix from New York. And the reason for that is he's on standby for that flight. And he's not 100% sure that TSA will let him do it anyway. But he is a pilot, and they could search the basket, and they could see it's just, you know, an old basket. So I don't see why it wouldn't work, but let's just keep our fingers crossed, because if you guys want it as much as I want to give it to you, we should be able to make this work. Imagine that tag was put on by George High himself. Oh, you know what? I forgot about this. It's actually got, can you see that? H66 over 8. It's actually the museum's catalog number for this piece. Alrighty, guys. Let's hope for the best. I want to do this. I don't want to get to be an old man and die and this thing is sitting there like it's nothing but a piece of junk, because it's not. It speaks to your ancestry, Apache people. I mean, it belongs to you. And I'm trying to do the right thing. So help me out in any way you can.